can't imagine living off the river. And whenever we've talked about perhaps not being here, we've always looked at being somewhere on the river. And so it's just part of our life, and I couldn't imagine not being on the river, and of course the River Murray being the most beautiful of all. My name's Carol Greening. I was born in Mannum, and my husband and I have lived here at Mannum Marine for the last 42 years. We built it from nothing and now have a beautiful marina. We have permanent moorings for boats. We have approximately 40 boats, but we also have a workshop and slipway for servicing the boats. Our son and granddaughter both work for us in the business, so it's a 3-generation business, and we have lots of work from the customers who actually have their boats here, but lots of other boaties come to us for their work also, so it's a very busy life. My mother was a local school teacher, so I started school when I was 4 because they wanted her to teach. My father worked in the factory and then became a builder and had a hardware shop. Yeah, well, the factory was, back when my father worked there, David Shearer Limited, and as time went by it became Horwood Bagshaws, and that was our main industry in Mannum. Everybody worked at the factory. I think when Dad worked there were probably 400 odd people employed. They built farm machinery, same as Horwood Bagshaws do, but on a lot larger scale, of course, and I think Horwoods now have diversified a little, so the machinery is not the biggest part of their business perhaps. My mum and dad were always great community people, and so encouraged me to be involved also, and always I've worked for something ever since I was quite a young person. It's a lovely place to live, but if you want to live in a place and have it lovely, of course you have to work hard for it. So now my main involvement is the Mannum Progress Association. We try and organise some events in the cooler months of the year, because Mannum being such a tourist town, which is now our main industry, and the craft fair brings people from far and wide actually, but that's one of the 3 of the major functions that the Progress Association do run. Whilst I've always lived on the river, we didn't spend a lot of time on the river, but I have got some memories that, wearing what I'd call a big busted life jacket, which probably would have drowned me if I'd fallen overboard. But we still went out on boats, but we didn't enjoy the river quite like we do now. It's only since I've been married to Ron, which is now 52 years, that I really got to enjoy the river and enjoy boating. And of course our family, our 4 children, think there's nothing like the river, and they just really have enjoyed it far more than I ever did as a young person. Well, my hope and dream is that we don't destroy it. We have done a lot of damage in the last few years, and I guess perhaps because we didn't really know what we were doing, but the river is nothing like it used to be when we were young. People taking so much water out of it, so the levels are much lower. We have a lot of fluctuation, but let's hope now that they're looking at all of that, we can have it back to something like it used to be. We have hundreds of houseboats, and they've always been allowed to have their wastewater go into the river. Now, of course, they're controlling that a lot more. We've got introduced species of fish that are different. They're taking out willows, and all the things that used to be there are all changing, and so the whole fact of it is that it's just different from what it used to be many years ago. Our houseboat community is so huge now that that's really what we depend on, and so the people who are on houseboats need to be educated to look after the river and appreciate it, and I hope that future generations will do that, so that the river's there for a long time, so that my grandchildren, great-grandchildren and whatever are able to enjoy it as we've been able to all these years.